So hello and welcome, I'm Frederick Dunn and this is The Way to Be. Today I'm going over the Hive IQ insulated poly hive that I've had for a couple of years, ever since I ran into Nate at the Pennsylvania State Beekeepers Association back in 2024. So it's high time we put it out. I'm going to do a step-by-step demonstration on how to put it together, and it's been painted in advance by my wife, and we used a latex exterior house paint, really good one, and we're going to go over all the components. So here we are in the northwestern part of the state of Pennsylvania, northeastern part of the United States, and this is an Australian hive. These are the tools you need. And you're supposed to paint it, of course. You need to have some glue handy, and you need a screwdriver, Phillips head. And it's actually pretty straightforward, but I know a lot of people don't like to look at instructions, so we're going to take care of that. I'm going to show you everything. We're not going to skip anything, and even better than that, we're going to put bees in it all in one video. So these are the components, and the poly hives are tough, but they need wear surfaces. So all these components are going to make sure it lasts a long time, and it's going to hold it together really well. And of course, there are screws that have to hold it. And we're going to work from the bottom up. So we're going to start with the Hive IQ bottom board. These are 9-frame hives, by the way. And the other thing is there's aluminum in here, which they call, in Australia, where it's made, aluminium. So it's pretty funny there. So this is the bottom board. And it seems okay, pretty decent. We're going to put in the grill in the bottom here, which is aluminum. They also have a queen excluder included. It is the right size for me. Looks pretty decent. We're not putting that on yet because we're starting with a colony. We're going to use just the base. The bags are kind of foolproof. They tell you exactly which things are going to go together with each little packet of screws. So it takes the guesswork out. So we're going to put this in, tough stuff. And we're going to do this the way they want you to because I'm reviewing their hive. Now, of course, they didn't give it to me. This is not sponsored. I bought it myself from Nate Reed, as I mentioned before. And I'm not going to show you putting every single screw in, but I do show my method. I go diagonally and make sure everything is in good. Also, don't overscrew it. It is high-density poly, by the way. So here we are with all the screws in. There it is. That's the bottom screen. Now, the way I like to keep my bottom boards, I would like to have a removable tray underneath of that, but that's not what this hive has. They also have something interesting here. This covers the front, which is where if you buy the extra pollen trap, that's where that would go. So this is a blank, kind of acts as a placeholder, and it's going to keep things. So the aluminum pollen blanking cover. And so you would take that out and attach, of course, the optional one. I think the pollen trap is pretty expensive. I think it runs about $90. Now, I don't do that. I use pollen traps at the entrances if I need one. I don't use the ones that are in the bottoms here. So there it is. Screws are all in, moving along nice. We're, of course, going to go over the entrance reducer that comes with it. But the fit and finish here is pretty decent, and because aluminum should never rust. Now those screws I don't believe are stainless, so they are painted. And look at the magnets that hold these shut. So you control it by thirds. You could have it all the way open, or you could just open one or two of them at a time. I'm going to open just the middle one because we want it to stay small. We're going to put a colony in this that right now is sitting and waiting in a bucket. So there it is. It nests in there. It shows you the orientation of it. And we're going to put 4 screws in there that are going to be flush to the surface once you screw them into the poly. There it is. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And you can see the alignment there. So that's the real reason that I'm demonstrating that. So you know exactly where it goes and how it goes once it's there. So the little magnets there are kind of cool. And but of course it wouldn't just stay up on its own. You can't count on that. So there are components included here that help you control keeping these entrance reducers up or down. And here it is. Now they tell you to put glue on it around the outside edges here, just demonstrating with the brush exactly where that should go. Watch out for the centerpiece because it has moving parts. You don't want any glue to get into the middle there. So keep it to the outside. Now I did a test fit where I just pushed those in without the glue, and let me tell you, it held pretty good. So I don't know if the glue is really necessary, but it says so in the instructions, so I did it. See that? It either holds that down, or once you flip them up, it'll hold them in the up position, which is again what we're going to do later. So that's kind of pretty much it for the bottom board, and then underneath we have to have an insert. What would that be for? Well, it's for counting varroa mites when you do a varroa mite treatment. So they tell you in the instructions, by the way, when you put these rails on, that you should only put that insert, that core flute insert, in when you're doing varroa mite counts. In other words, you shouldn't leave it in all the time. They want you to keep it open, vented through the bottom. So I'm going to do that too, and there it is with all 6 screws in it. And they included, of course, the insert, and this shows you how it lines up. Plus it has these little chamfers in the poly there that helps you align things when you go to push it in. And then they have these NFC tags. That's pretty funny. They actually have an app. So each one of those numbers, by the way, is unique to your Hive, and the app is for Apple and Android. So you put those in there, you put your screws in, and you can scan it and keep track of your stuff. I have not used the app. I can't say it's good or bad or otherwise. I know initially it was going to be just for Apple, but it's good for Apple and Android. So you could check that out if you're interested. You have a lot of them. So again, it says, do not leave the varroa board installed longer than 24 to 48 hours. Okay. And because it is a little bit different, I marked it just for this hive. But if I cut my own, this is what I do. I make the core flute longer than it needs to be. Why? Because when the time comes, I want to be able to pull it out and need something to get a hold of. Here it is, the one that they provided, and it ends inside there. And it is a little thinner, but see how it ends? That could be tougher to grab. But if you're only leaving it in for 48 hours, it's probably not going to be sealed up. But I have to tell you, this is one part of the configuration I'm not super happy about. Because when I pull that bottom insert out, I want to see the varroa mites on it. Look at these surfaces. It's going to rub them off right on the bottom. So I'm not going to have anything to look at. It's going to smear them around, and you're not going to be able to count varroa on that. So I would recommend a modification there, a spacer or something, so that it would hang low enough that it doesn't scrape directly against the bottom of the polyhive there. So now we're going to put together the side panels first. That's the long panel, and there are 2 deeps and a medium in this kit. And they're grooved in such a way that it really takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have to worry about doing this wrong, because if you're trying to slide the wrong protective rail on the wrong piece, it won't fit. It's that easy. See? Top and bottom going together. It's got that little 45-degree chamfer on it that makes it easy for your hive tool to get in there. But these are the profiles. And then you slide that right on there. Now the fact that it's been painted ahead of time did make it a little bit tacky, but it wasn't the end of the world. So actually I think painting is a really good idea, and leave some dabs on there, because that'll make these little protective rails hold better, I would think. You could add some glue, but you better watch out, because they need to slide a little bit when you put those corner pieces in. So we did all of them, all the long pieces for the medium super and the 2 deeps all at one time. Now look at these plastic corner reinforcement pieces. When you pull them all off, now this looks daunting to some people. I think some people get kits that have to be put together and they never finish putting them together. But when you twist it off, it leaves a little tab here. So you have to get a nice sharp knife, side cutters, something like that, and make sure to cut those away, because that's going to cause a problem when you go to put it all together. We want them to fit nice and clean, and then of course there's a single screw hole there so that you can fasten it. See that one? See a little tab sticking out? And to cut that off. That's what it needs to look like. Do a little grooming on these pieces so you don't run into trouble later. And just like the long strips, they only fit one way. So there's a deep profile and a shallow one, top and bottom. See? It's very easy. So once you line them up and they push in, the tab goes right under there. It's a nice corner. So we're going to do the opposite one. And I'm going to do them all together, all at once. Let's just get this knocked out. So those are the corner pieces. And we're going to do them top and bottom. just like that. You can see exactly how they're made. By the way, the quality of the plastic seems really good, really durable. And it's kind of remarkable because this is not a very expensive hive configuration. This entire thing is under $400. So let's keep going. We have all the long pieces together. I'm just showing you my stack here. I didn't want you to have to watch me put together each and every side piece. So now we're going to, of course, set this flat, and we're going to put the end pieces together, which are the short pieces. There you go. Very easy to align also. So handles up, see how it all goes together? That's where your glue comes into play, according to the instructions. So then you would glue that together and put the two sides on, and then put the long panel together too. See that? Pretty straightforward. Gonna wait until we get it all together before we put any screws in, so don't get anxious. Showing just how they want you to do it. So laying the side panel down and putting the two end pieces on, and now we have all the pieces together, and we're gonna have to put those screws in. So, but before you put your screws in, make sure that's nice and snug. Look at the interior of the corners. Make sure they're nice and tight. Your bees are going to do some propylizing there. In fact, I think the bees are going to do a lot of propylizing. So anyway, screw bag for hive bodies. 3 hive bodies. Same screws for all of them. Nice and long. They call them self-tapping. They look like normal screws, but they are countersunk screws, so that they end up flush. When you turn it sideways, the screw should not be sticking up at all because you're about to cover it with another protective piece. So there it is. It says start with this edge and roll the profile onto the hive body. Let me tell you something on this part. This can be a little bit challenging, so we're going to do it. I mean, that's the frame rest part on the inside. We're supposed to hook it here on the outside. This was not really easy. Let me tell you, you had to exert some force on it, and it worried me a little bit because it is high density poly, but I did snap it on there. I realized I skipped forward there because I didn't want you to see me struggling with it for so long. And then we have to go do the other side. So that, depending on who you are, how strong your hands are, this could be a frustrating part for you. You might want to get a helper because it does not just easily sit in there. These really do firmly clip over this high density material. See that? Can't even get it to hook in there. Seems like it would be a little easier. And then you're supposed to pull the short end towards you and work it that way and really snap it together. I feel like I'm kind of getting the hang of it. You get one end snapped. So I would say putting this thing together so far, those short end pieces, that's the toughest part. So there again. And of course, these are the frame rests. That's where your standard Langstroth frames, by the way, standard medium Langstroth, standard deep Langstroth frames are all compatible. This is not compatible with woodenware, so it is different. This is a 9 frame. I just have to, by the time you figure this out and things go on fairly straightforward and you get it going there, you're all done. So by the time you get some proficiency, the project's over with. But don't give up. Follow the instructions. It does work. They do clip into place. There you go. See, that was fussy, let me tell you. Now we're going to put together the hive top, of course. And this hive top, by the way, is really heavy. And the reason that it's heavy is it's got some nice strong back metal cladding on the top of it here. And that's going to hold up to lots of strapping and anything else you can probably throw at it. With the polystyrene, it's a weak part on the underside. So, of course, they've got strips that cover that. You're going to screw those all together. And I snapped off one of the little poly pieces there. I think it's still fine. I don't think I've ruined it. But once again, you have to really push these on. I noticed it was not a perfect match there, but the good news is we're going to be holding it on with screws. And you might be wondering about the R factor of this thing. I think the hive top is actually the thinnest R factor of the whole deal. The sidewalls are like an R6, which means R7 maybe, and you're 6 times the R value of a standard thickness pine hive box. So there's a lot of insulation, but the top, it seems to me, is a little thinner, but they rate the entire hive at, I believe, an R7. And yes, I sped this up. Why would you want to sit here and just watch me putting screws into this? So it's good to go. This is going to be red number 78 here in the Way to Bee apiary. And there's a tiny amount of space there, but you know what? This doesn't count as a feeder shim. There isn't a lot of space above it. So because I have to put a swarm in this thing, I'm going to have to put in something I really don't like to use, which is going to be a frame feeder. So this is made by Mother Load, and it takes up the space of 2 frames in a 9-frame brood box here. And we're just getting things started, so I'll pull it out later probably once the bees really get going. And it fits nicely. We're going to put in 1 frame of drawn comb, which is on an acorn heavy wax foundation originally, and a wooden frame. So that's all we're putting in there. It does not have any honey in it. It does not have any bee bread or anything like that. You want to keep it clean. And all the rest of them are just acorn foundation, heavy waxed. And we're going to see if we can use a swarm to draw this stuff out. We're going to put them to work. Today is July the 16th. And in fact, you notice how diffuse the light is outside right now? That's because we have forest fires in Canada sending us smoke to the point where they actually graded us purple right now, which means nobody's supposed to be outside, but I'm outside because I care about making this video for you. And that shows how your bees will not drown in there. And I'm just using an old slatted rack I had sitting around, this metal stand. We want this thing to be at least 17 to 18 inches off the ground. We don't want skunks tearing into it. Let me tell you what, a skunk can tear up a polystyrene hive. My chickens, if it wasn't painted really well, could come and peck it apart. Some people have reported that mice and rodents also chew into it. So you want to put a really good coat of paint on that. So again, the 9-frame deep box. I also left a little space next to that feeder frame so the bees can get up in there. I'm testing out this easy feed that comes from Hive Alive, by the way. This expires in 2028. This is a 2.5 gallon jug of it, and it's mixed at 2 to 1. I don't ever mix 2 to 1 myself. It's too much effort. I like to use 1 to 1. So if I were mixing it myself just to fill this feeder, I would use 1 to 1. But since I have this, I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it out. And I filled it right to the tippy top there. The hive is nice and level. So the bees are going to get in there and they're going to get those resources. I don't like frame feeders just because you have to open it up and get in there. Of course, I'm strapping it down. We have a bear in the area, and the bear can knock it over, but they tend to not do well getting into these things if you have a nice, strong shipping strap on it. So there you go. They have nice neighbors too. See all the activity here? Everything's going well for a nice smoky day. And so there it is. We're only starting with a single deep brood box. Now, I just happen to have this swarm of bees. They've been sitting here overnight. My supervisor showed up just in time, so I decided I'll put him to work too. He can help us out here. So make sure you get something to drink, have a comfortable chair to sit on, because you're going to be staring at the bees for a while. Got to be patient. We're not going to just dump them in. We're going to open up this everything bee vac. And this is Quinn.
Careful, don't make them upset.
And we don't want to do any banging and jamming around here. He's 10 years old. I'm going to pull the screen out, and we're going to see if we can't get them to start just going in on their own. In a perfect world, that's what they would do. So we're going to pull the screen out. Sometimes I can turn this over and find the queen pretty easily there. If I keep them overnight, they kind of will go into any hive you put them in front of. They're pretty willing to move into things. If you see the queen, let me know the timestamp in the comment section. I will pin your comment. Now this was impressive, and this is in real time. The bees came right up out of the bucket, of course, in the everything bee bag, and they started moving in a counter circle here. Let's follow them around. And I don't know why. They went straight into this hive. There was no, scouts didn't just like wander in there and start checking it out and coming back. They all immediately went in. Now this makes me highly suspicious. I think I missed the queen. I think the queen in that first batch, when I inverted the screen, I think she went in right away, and they all started nazzing off, fanning, and all the bees just piled right into the hive, which makes it look like they really like this Hive IQ beehive. So it's insulated. What's that going to do for us? Get them through winter, get them through summer? All extremes, hot or cold. The bees benefit by controlling this environment. So I hope you found the assembly instructions helpful, and let me know what you think if you've been keeping them for a while. I'm glad you took the time to sit down and watch. I'm Frederick Dunn, and this has been The Way to Be. How to put together a Hive IQ insulated polyhive, and then of course populating it with honeybees. I wish you all the best in beekeeping.